Tie game in the ninth. Jay grounds one. Pedroia makes the play. Throw home. 2 out. Over to third. It gets away. Alan Craig is going to come to the plate. Here's the throw. He is. The umpire making the call. They're going to say he's safe. There was interference at third base. Interference with Middlebrooks at third. And the home plate umpire pointed to the plate. And you can see Jim Joyce saying obstruction as Craig was tripped coming down the line. And the Cardinals have won this game 5-4.
Well, Jim Joyce, did he make the play? Did he make the call right away? It appears that he did, signaling the home plate umpire, Dana DeMuth. A remarkable play by Pedroia, who's dove to his right on the short hop, gets the first man. Watch Craig in the background going to third, so the first man is out. The throw is wide, and now Middlebrooks can't get out of the way. Obstruction is called. Craig, who can't run, normally would have been out at home. Saltalamacchia making a great play. There's 1 out. That's the second out. Wide throw at third. There's the obstruction. Middlebrooks. Unbelievable.
This game ends with an obstruction call. This game ends 5-4 because of that right there. The throw home, it looked like the tag had Craig.
Yes.
But immediately Dana DeMuth points down to third base because of this. As the feet go up, Alan Craig gets tangled in the legs of Will Middlebrooks and can't get toward home plate without falling down.
Inadvertently or otherwise. Jim Joyce must have had a signal with home plate umpire Dana DeMuth, calling obstruction immediately. Pedroia can't believe it, and the Cardinals with an unlikely win.
Baseball is a sport with the potential of a million different outcomes. Most of the time, it's pretty standard. But every once in a while, or maybe once a few times a year, something really bizarre happens that makes you go, really? That is how tonight's game ended? Welcome to Crafting the Call. I'm Josh Sushon with the Albuquerque Isotopes.
And I'm Jesse Goldberg-Strasser with the Lansing Lugnuts. Hey, Josh, let's get weird.
Let's get very weird, Jesse, because there's a lot of weird ways that baseball games have ended over the years.
Yeah, and we're going to see some of them. But the fun thing is, it's one of those, use your imagination. Can it happen? Is it a possibility? Then chances are it has. And whether you've seen it, whether I've seen it, someone somewhere has seen it, and they've had to then find the words to broadcast it because it's our job, as Joe Buck and Tim McCarver were doing right there. Okay, this has happened. Now translate everything that is happening so that everyone watching can understand.
And from a broadcasting standpoint, we're going to look at some unique examples where it's really important that you know the rule book, like all of the rule book. It's also important to know how to keep your breath calm, how to make sure that you are ready and anticipating, even when there is something that you could not possibly fathom happening that then does happen.
We've had situations for me, and this hasn't been to end the game, but let's say a runner tries to steal, and then the umpire sends the runner back. And in my head, I'm going through all the potential possibilities. Was there interference? Did something else happen? Was time called? And so you get to learn all those possibilities. Oh, this was backswing interference. This was the umpire interfering with the catcher. And you're just going through it. Because I would argue that in the play that we just watched, it was not explicitly made clear at all by the third base umpire. He pointed, but we really did need the umpires to be highly more emphatic to let everybody know, because it took Joe Buck a little bit of time to understand what was happening.
And this is one of my soapbox things about baseball, that umpires need to explain more often. exactly what the call is and why that is the call. They're starting to do that a little bit more now that we have replay, but it's still a whole bunch of hand gestures. The NFL figured this out a long time ago. We're going to put a microphone on the main official. And in the NBA now, they'll walk over to the scorer's table. They'll look right into a camera and they'll explain what they're about to look at. We need more of that in baseball at all levels of baseball, majors, minors, college, throughout.
Especially if it's going to end the game. If the game is over, we need to understand why it's over. And we're going to begin with a couple of calls for you and me. But before we get there, can I tell you a quick story?
Please do.
Okay, so this was an ending for a game. I wish that I had the video. Teenager Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was at the plate, tying run at third base. There's 2 outs. The pitcher threw low in the dirt. Vladdy swung. He felt he foul tipped it. With his backswing, he knocked out the catcher, hit the catcher full in the head. The catcher's out at home plate. The ball gets away. The runner from third streaks in to score. So we have a catcher who's out. We've got chaos on the bases. The umpire points at Vladdy, says you're out, and marches right off the field. And so the Lugnuts are swarming the umpire. And in that moment, we really did need the umpire to grab a microphone and say, I'm calling this batter out. This is strike 3. And with the backswing hitting the catcher, play is dead. Game is over.
Ooh, that is a lot of potential things happening all at once. Oh, my goodness. I still feel my heart racing.
Thankfully, the catcher's okay. Let's get right to that point.
Yes. Okay. Let's get to what happens when someone is running around the bases and is having trouble staying on his feet.
So tying run at first, winning run at the plate. Lined into right field. Jack Cust. Garcia, they're going to send him. No, they stop him. And Cust falls down. And he's going to run down. Aaron Boone going to tag him out. There was nobody at home plate, and Jack Cust simply lost his footing. Nobody was at home. Unbelievable.
First of all, Aaron Boone is like the Forrest Gump of baseball. He's just always involved in all of these plays, and the turf monster gets Jack Cust. And that's a case, I'm pretty sure that's Jim Palmer who's doing play-by-play, and whoever the analysis basically saves the call by saying, there was nobody at home plate, Jesse. All he had to do was keep running. But he fell again for the second time in one play.
Doesn't this show the importance of the broadcaster? Like, there we have the pictures. This is a television broadcast. And yet there are things that still need to be added so that we can understand, things that we cannot see that are adding to the chaos.
And rundowns create lots of chaos. And I feel like this is one of those moments, Jesse. You and I have talked about this when it comes to inside the park home runs and triple plays, where if you're looking down at your scorebook, whatever your cheat sheet is, you're in deep trouble because you're going to miss something. And so either number one, you just have to have everyone's names memorized or know what they look like. But if that is not the case, then just use words like catcher, third baseman, multiple infielders running around to get in position. And that's where with your eyes, it's really important. I'm scanning the field right now to say nobody's at home. Oh, he fell, in order to make sure that you get that description of what happened.
There are moments where it's good to get to let the game breathe too. There are moments when you need to lag and let yourself catch up with it. And then there are other moments when you desperately need to find the words. And in this spot, you need to say something. Jack Cust for home. He's down. Home plate's in front of him. Nobody's there. Can he get there? He can't.
To be fair with all of these things, your mind starts to think one way. You see a ball get hit in the right center field gap. Your mind starts to think, play at the plate. Nope, there's not a play at the plate. They held him. Oh, wait, he fell. Oh, wait, now he's in a rundown. So there's a lot of things that your brain has to process quickly. But again, that's what it means to be a professional and to be on the call of these things. all the time, whenever I listen to a young broadcaster, Jesse, and they want feedback, and they send me this demo reel half inning, and they've got all these great stories in between batters. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Can you call the game when the action is frenetic, when there's things that are happening? Can you describe action first? That's the most important part of play-by-play. All the other stories, that's the sprinkles on top of the ice cream.
And so because of that, in order to do that, you've got to stay short. And you have to stay short because you don't know what's going to happen next. And so if you stay short just in this moment, and then in this moment, and then in this moment, then you can stay on top of it. Line drive, right field, base hit, cussed round third, heading for home. He falls, and you just follow it each step along the way.
All right, so I'm talking a big game about oh, well, this is what I would do if I was on the mic. Let's find out what I sounded like and what Jesse sounded like when we were presented these moments for these bizarre game-ending scenarios. And let's see how the two know-it-alls handled things.
Runners go. The pitch is a little dribbler up the first base line. Morrow fields, tosses to first, wide, away from Van Slag. Here comes Garneau. Here comes Enoa. He scores. Topes win. Topes win. The celebration is on. The Topes have come back from an 8-2 deficit, and they win it on a throwing error by the pitcher. 9-8 is the final.
Okay, so that was a way that one game ended. 2 nights later, same two teams, this happened, Jesse.
Here's the 1-0. Hit high and deep to center. Thompson going up the hill, at the top of the hill. He has it go off his glove for a home run. It is gone. Topes win. Topes win. 6-4 is the final. It went off Thompson's glove. He can't believe it. He's still at the top of the hill, and the celebration is on. It was in his glove and then out of his glove. Oh, what a way to end it. The Isotopes, with their second final at-bat victory of this series, they have taken 3 out of 4 from the Dodgers. 2 stunning losses for Oklahoma City. The pitcher threw one away 2 nights ago, and tonight, off the glove of Thompson at the top of the hill.
Couple of things here, Jesse. That was Trace Thompson. That's the brother of Klay Thompson. Yes, there was a hill at Isotopes Park in Albuquerque. It is now gone, so it is definitely unique when a player goes up to the top of the hill. And both of those events happened in a 3-day stretch back in 2017.
Did you guys hex the ball? Did you do something to it? Okay, so we've got a 10-footer and a 400-footer, right?
Right.
So starting with the second clip, where I stay with is he has it go off his glove and over the fence, right? You were preparing to call a catch. It's not going to be a catch. And so this brings me right into every single call that we've seen where the broadcaster's like, okay, here's what's going to happen. And then that quick veer, that was a great veer by you because you saw it clearly the whole way. You are ready to adjust your words to describe what actually happens.
So the thing about calling a baseball game when there's a hill in center field, you have to be ready for anything, right? And it's very much describing a ball is going to that hill. And all of us are like, all right, here we go. What's going to happen? Is he going to fall? Is he going to end up on SportsCenter because he made this amazing catch? Is he going to get hurt? Is the ball going to roll down the hill? Is the player going to roll down the hill? Like, what is going to happen? And so it is very much like when you go into one of those roundabout drives and you're like, looking every which direction. Is it safe for me to go? No, wait, do I have to wait? Does that car realize it's a roundabout? Wait, who has the right of way? That was very much calling a game at Isotopes Park with a hill. But also when it's that high, Jesse, those are actually my favorite types of calls because when the ball is that high, it gives you plenty of time to say he's going up the hill. He's at the top of the hill. And then you're ready when the ball goes off his glove and over the fence.
That's fascinating. It's the whole expect the unexpected. And as Yogi Berra would say, vice versa. You are ready for the unexpected.
Yeah, honestly, those are the nights you're just like, I didn't mess it up. Right?
Let me share with you a call that I didn't make, unfortunately. I've got for you the home team on the call. So this happened in Midland, Michigan, and this happened earlier this year. This is the Lansing Lugnuts against the Great Lakes Loons, and this is in extra innings. And Great Lakes has inserted in an outfielder named Jake Vogel as a pinch runner. So his job is he is the potential game-tying run. Do whatever he can, score that game-tying run, keep this game going.
1-1, Vogel takes off for third. It's a called strike. Throw down the line is not in time. And then Vogel steps off the base and gets tagged to end the game. Vogel cleanly steals third. And then takes one hard step down the line with the ball in the glove of the third baseman, Salome. And this one is over. It ends as only tonight's action could.
That's Brad Tunney on the call, the voice of the Great Lakes Loons. Jake Vogel had no idea where that baseball was.
So there's some voice that says, why would you leave the base? And I don't know if that was a fan, another player, a coach, a groundskeeper. I don't know who said that. But that is the ultimate example, Jesse, of why we want really good crowd mics. We want to pick up these things because that is what everyone is thinking. But one person said it and said it loud enough that the crowd mic picked it up because that tells the story. Why would you leave the base?
It was perfect. It was perfect. As his manager, coaching at third, is holding his head in his hands, that fan's voice pierces through.
So the headline that we have at the bottom of this says, and that is how the game ended. And I really do think, Jesse, that there's something to be said about sometimes you just say, and that is how the game ended. And sometimes it's with a question mark. And sometimes it's with an exclamation mark. And sometimes it's with both because it's a combination of, I can't believe this, either based on a mistake that a human being makes or just a brilliant play that a human makes in order to end a game.
What I like is this is where the pitch clock turns off because the game is now over. So it does allow us that time to process. There's no rush for us to say, let me tell you what happened, and now we've got another pitch to get to. So I think that that's good. We can talk all the way through it. We can say, what was the call? What was the play? What was he thinking? Oh my gosh, what a great play. Oh, what a brain sprain. It allows that processing that you and I naturally do after a game. The game ends, we've got some time to think, and we'll go, back in the third inning, what was that about? Or in the sixth inning, can you believe this? I appreciate that the game ends, and we can take that moment and go, that is how it ended, and really get into the teeth of things and unpeel the layers.
You know, oftentimes when it comes to a bizarro ending, it's the ultimate thrill of victory and agony of defeat, right? And you need to make the determination. What are you going to focus on? Are you going to focus on the pitcher throwing the ball away, the outfielder having the ball go off his glove, the base runner who falls down? You're going to focus on the great play that Dustin Pedroia almost made in order to start a double play, right? And it becomes this yin and yang of what's the most important thing to be discussing, what's the most important thing to emphasize. And sometimes it's the mistakes that humans make, and sometimes it's the glory that an athlete does on the field.
I think you go right into the reactions. And so that's why I appreciate in your home run call, off the outfielder's glove, that you got right back into he's still there in center field. When Jake Vogel gets tagged out at third base, it's the manager right next to him putting his head into his hands and doubling over. It's all of those different reactions. It is that joy. It is going into the dugout or looking at everyone's faces and seeing these smiles of incredulity that we get to reflect onward to our audience.
All right, we're going to get to this next call. And this is the ultimate in, if you're going to broadcast baseball, you better know the rule book.
10-10 ball game, last of the 11th inning. Good block by the catcher, Encarnacion.
Well, nothing spectacular. All it does is save the ball game to this point.
Yeah, that's terrific.
Now here comes Tommy.
You have any idea what this is about?
I don't.
Brian Gorman is the home plate umpire. And he's motioned for crew chief Harry Wendelstedt, who's working third.
See if we can pick up anything.
Pitch did not hit the batter. Make what they call. The Dodgers have won the ball game.
Now, Jim,
Let it run there. I wonder if he touched it with his mask. Did the catcher touch that ball with his mask? The Dodgers have won the ball game, and I was wondering if Encarnacion touched that ball with his mask. As Lasorda came bolting out of the dugout, and now it's Leland and the Pirates who want an explanation, but the Dodgers have won this game in the 11th inning. And it was only on the conference with Harry Wendelstedt did this ruling come down. And now we'll watch and let this roll to see if Encarnacion touches this ball with his mask.
watch and see if he takes off the mask to find the baseball. Takes off the mask.
Now does he touch it? Yes, he did.
He catches it with a mask.
That's a perfect call.
Sort of picked it up. The ruling is made, and that's the end of the ballgame.
Well, that's a picture perfect call by Lasorda. He picked it up. That's a live baseball that cannot be touched by the catcher's mask. And on this most bizarre play, this crazy night at Dodger Stadium comes to an end.
There is a full moon.
Unbelievable.
Credit Ted Robinson, the play-by-play announcer. He didn't see it immediately, but then as they started to show it again, you could even hear Ted say, let the clip run a little bit longer. I wonder if, and then we saw it indeed. Mask, glove, coming together to catch the ball. Can't do that, Jesse.
At the start, remember I was talking about the broadcaster goes through the possibilities. Could it be this? Could it be this? And you could see Ted checking it off and saying, let's have a look. Let me credit and then criticize the TV, the producer, and in terms of the camera direction. We see it immediately, right? The instant replay is instantaneously shown. And I think both you and I perked up and said, oh, because I've seen detached equipment in person. And I know that catchers largely don't know that they're not supposed to do it. It means a base. However, boy, I wish that when the umpires had their conference and you saw Harry Wendelstedt was just reading the riot act and saying, here's the call. I wish that they had stayed with it a little bit longer just to show the umpires make that call instead of the crowd reacting under the instant replay.
So at the first clip, World Series game, we saw the angle of that obstruction at third base from all kinds of different angles. And of course, that's a World Series, and Fox, to its credit, has just puts cameras everywhere so that we can see these plays from all these different angles. And this is a game from, I believe, the late 80s, early 90s, in which it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of angles. We really only see it from that same angle as opposed to from the first base dugout or the third base dugout where you would see the mask, the glove come together where it'd be clear exactly what happened. And so this is where sometimes you're at the mercy of what the replays can even show you, right? Because it happens so fast. And Jesse, you and I know from calling games, when you're behind home plate, I don't know if I can see that. I don't know if I can see the catcher grab his mask in order to touch the ball. Maybe the umpire's blocking me. Maybe the batter is blocking me. Maybe my eyes went somewhere else to see like something else that might be happening quickly in that moment. You may not see it. And so sometimes you can be at the mercy of what the replays will show you.
Yes. When we had our detached equipment last year, I did not see it live. I had to go back into the replay to understand it. Let me throw this at you, though. this is from an era where I think that people in watching this, the reaction is timeless order, that baseball genius. I think if this happens in 2024, people would have reacted to it and saying, what's that home plate umpire looking at? The umpire blew it, thank goodness for the conference, rather than, hey, credit the alertness of the Dodgers.
When it comes to just making sure that you know all the different intricacies of a rule book, I'll give you another one that I learned that actually was at Dodger Stadium. It's a game between the Giants and the Dodgers. Joe Torre had been ejected from the game, and so Don Mattingly was the acting manager. Mattingly goes out on the mound to have a visit. He leaves the dirt and starts walking back to the third base dugout. He's on the grass. A question gets asked of him, and he goes back onto the mound to answer. That counts as a second mound visit, which I didn't know at the time. But Bruce Bochy, who was managing the Giants, absolutely positively knows this. So he goes out and he says to the umpire, this is what just happened. And the umpires realize, yes, he is right. That just happened. So that means the Dodgers must bring in a new pitcher, cold, from the bullpen, on the spot. The Giants ended up winning the game because Bruce Bochy knew the rule and the umpires enforced the rule. That's something I didn't know at the time, but I remember thinking, don't ever forget this rule, Josh. And same thing with the catcher using his mask. These are obscure things that might happen once every 10 years, but once they do, don't ever forget them.
I read the rule book and I try to the best of my ability to memorize each of the rules. And I have a hard time learning, have it etched up there without actually seeing it in person. For example, there's a wild pitch with the runner moving. The runner takes off from first base, dashes around second, on his way to third. The ball rolls into the dugout. Where is the runner placed? Well, from actually seeing it in person, I know that you get one base from where you start. And so the runner is sent back to second base when a pitched ball exits the field of play. But I actually needed to see it in order to understand it. Now, let's set that aside and talk about it from a broadcasting point of view. We need to know the rules because we need to explain to the audience, the listeners, the watchers, here's what they're calling and why. So to bring this back to Ted Robinson, it's such a good job for him to say, what are they talking about? What is Tommy arguing for? What was the call that's made? Let's see if we can spot it. There it is. That's what's happening.
All right, let's get on to our next clip. And this one is going to be kind of a slow build. And this is one where we're just going to kind of sink our teeth into all the different things that happened in a very bizarre ninth inning back in 1983 involving the Baltimore Orioles. Now, before we start listening to it, and we're only going to listen to it, we're not going to see it, we're only going to listen to it. 1983, Baltimore Orioles. There were some things that happened in the game, and as a result, Len Sakata was forced to play catcher. Len Sakata is not a catcher. He's an infielder. And so Len Sakata is now behind home plate. And the Toronto Blue Jays are thinking, sweet, we've got a middle infielder who's behind the plate. So we're going to be able to run like mad off him. It's a tie game going into the ninth inning. Cliff Johnson for the Blue Jays hits a home run to give the Blue Jays the lead. And now the Blue Jays are looking for insurance runs. And we're going to hear and listen to a very bizarre rest of the ninth inning from 1983.
Cliff Johnson led off the inning with a home run for the Blue Jays. The next man walked, and Tippy Martinez was called in to relieve Tim Stoddard. We didn't know it then, but what was to follow was probably, almost certainly, a first in the entire 114-year history of Major League Baseball.
And he's going to bat left-handed. Throw to first. They got the runner hung up between first and second. Murray chases him down and now puts on the tag. Well, that's the ideal way to do it.
Who said Len Sakata couldn't throw out a base stealer?
Right on. One out, a runner at first. Another throw to first. They got him. They got him. Again, the play goes 1-3, and momentarily it looked like they were going to get Collins hung up. The throw came over from Tippy, and Collins came right into the tag. Two-strike delivery, a high chopper over the mound. Lowenstein back, thanks to pickup, he'll have no throw. Well, Lowenstein showing some good range there, and the fans love it. Another throw to first. Well, Sakata's got a pretty good arm, and the Orioles have worked Leonard out behind the plate throughout the season. Another throw to first, and they got him! Holy cow! Oh, my goodness! Oh! They picked off 3! I can't believe it! They did it again! But the Blue Jays come up with a run. Martinez to Murray once. Martinez to Murray twice. Martinez to Murray 3 times. At the end of 9.5, it's Toronto 4 and Baltimore 3.
As remarkable as it was, the Orioles found themselves trailing by a run. But there was more magic to follow.
Ripken will lead it off. Listen to the crowd. Ripken celebrating his 23rd birthday. And he is 0 for the night. California and Milwaukee scoreless at the end of 6. Here's the pitch to Rip. And it's high for a ball. 1 ball and no strikes. Royley Jackson and Moffitt warming in the Toronto bullpen. The Orioles down to this game 4-3. Eddie Murray is on deck. McLaughlin's pitch to Ripken. High fly ball to left field, and that's out of here. Home run! Tie ball game. They're on their feet at Memorial Stadium. 33rd Street has again turned into Electric Avenue. This place is going bananas. Ripken has tied it up. That's number 18 for Ripken. A screaming shot. And the Orioles take the lead, the Orioles tie it up at 4-4. And here comes Bobby Cox slowly out to the mound. Ripken homers to tie it for the Orioles in the 10th after they battle back in the 9th. Murray is the ball game at first base. Lowenstein is 0 for the night. Dempsey might get the whole place going with a cheer pretty soon. He's got the towel up now. He may lead the stadium in a cheer. He's done it before. He's trying to get them on their feet. Here's the pitch to Lowenstein. It's high. 1 ball and no strikes. And they're on their feet in section 34. Dempsey may well lead an Oriole cheer. He's trying to get everybody in the ballpark up. Eddie Murray's at first base. Lowenstein is up. Here's the pitch to John. A ground ball to the right side. Upshaw will take it. He'll run to the bag at first and step on it.
John Shelby was next, and he was walked intentionally. Randy Moffitt then was summoned from the Blue Jay bullpen to face Gary Renicky. He got Renicky, but the next hitter was Oriole catcher Len Sakata.
Here's the 1-1. Fly ball down the left field line, and it is gone! Home run! Len Sakata! And the Orioles win this game on a Len Sakata home run to left. Memorial Stadium is going crazy. Len Sakata with a home run to win it. The Birds on top 7-4. Sakata with a sudden death victory. Len Sakata has done it again.
Okay, Jesse, a lot for us to break down from this. Where would you like to start?
Tom Maher, the broadcaster, because when you think about Orioles' institutional radio broadcaster history, I think that his name can be easily forgotten as we're going from Chuck Thompson to John Miller.
I love the Martinez to Murray once, Martinez to Murray twice, Martinez to Murray a third time. I thought that was a brilliant way to sum up that inning, because let's face it, it's hard to have a great call of a pickoff. They happen so fast. Sometimes it's a rundown. You have very few moments when you can ever get into like a really good call of one. But then the headline that we talk about a lot on Crafting the Call, Jesse, the headline to end the inning was great. Martinez to Murray.
There's just such great atmosphere. And 1983 is a magical year for the Orioles. They're going to win the World Series. This is fantastic, right? We can see that storyline in progress. And the joking about Len Sakata's arm, Len Sakata's got a great arm. It's such a great through line as the enjoyment keeps on increasing over the course of this as it turns surreal.
Can we also normalize baseball players doing things in the dugout to excite the fans, right?
Yes.
In football, you see defensive guys make noise. We see that in basketball. And I think nowadays, if a player was waving a towel at the dugout, a bunch of like stuffy baseball bros would be like, whatever, dude, get over yourself because they're too cool for school. Rick Dempsey, the ultimate just comedian, charismatic guy who's just going to light a fire up, waving the towel. It was a great note that Tom Marr had about what was happening with Dempsey. I want to normalize this. It's okay. It's sports. Show energy. Have the players get fired up and get the crowd fired up.
It's a great point. We are just watching a clip. We had just watched the Pittsburgh Pirates LA Dodgers clip, and Tommy Lasorda, the Dodgers win. And what is he doing? He's pumping up the crowd after this win. Doesn't matter how you got it. It's a victory. We had a player in Lansing earlier this year who would do that, and you would see him whooping up the dugout. You'd see him over the railing. Everything that he would do to celebrate anything and to keep that energy high. And it was so different from everything that I was used to. And you would feel that energy from the crowd in response. The crowd fed off of that.
Baseball is a sport going back to Little League. It's just constant chatter in the dugout. Baseball, softball. It's all about chatter. It's about chants. It's about kind of singing and being into the game. That's one of the first things you learn in Little League is to cheer on your teammates. You get to high school, it's like that. You get to college, it's like that. One of my favorite parts about broadcasting college baseball, Jesse, is when there's a throw over to first base and you hear the entire dugout yell, back, in unison, right? And I love the way that baseball and softball players are into it like that. And then they get to professional baseball and it's like, no, we don't do that. We're too cool. I want to bring this back.
Yes, it's quiet. Guys are locked in and it's quiet. And what that shows me is who is into the game, right? Even though you are not directly taking part, you're not in the batter's box, you're not in the field, you're not on the mound, you are into every single thing that's happening and you're supporting your teammates and it comes back towards you. So yeah, I'm totally in agreement with you that note of Dempsey in the dugout adds to the whole feel of this.
A couple of other notes about this call. The line that Tom Marr uses, 33rd Street turns into Electric Avenue. Now, this is 1983. I'm pretty sure that Eddie Grant's Electric Avenue song had just come out, so that's probably a reference or a nod to that. I think it's just a great pop culture reference. I think it's a fabulous way, in fact, to describe a ballpark. It's Electric Avenue. I might steal that and use that at some point in the near future, Jesse.
Yes, I agree. It's evocative. Let me throw this at you. We have home run calls, and there have been home run calls since home runs started getting hit and broadcasters realized that they needed to say something. I think that there has been the words home run, and when they are used, if we say gone or we say out of here, we say whatever we want to say, goodbye, we do not often follow that up with an equally elated home run, right? It's out of here, home run was how Tom called these home runs. He made it very clear. And that's been a subject of conversation with some broadcaster friends, with me saying, okay, we've got different words for home run, dinger for bagger, and you can go right through it from the thesaurus. But I enjoyed listening to, this is 1983, what does his home run call sound like? Right? High fly ball, left field. It's out of here, home run, right? It's his second home run of the year. It's a 2-run homer to give them the lead. Home run is attached to out of here. It's a double barrel home run call.
It's almost like there's so many different ways to say home run that we don't say home run very often. Or if we do, we're describing as the at-bat is unfolding, how many home runs he's hit. But in the moment, now that you bring this up, Jesse, we don't use the word home run very often to describe a home run. Maybe we should.
When I was first coming up, I was told by my boss, he said, always say the words base hit to let the listener know. Line drive, left field, base hit. Ground ball up the middle, base hit. The listener needs that. And home run is a little bit like that. Deep drive, right field, it's gone, home run. There's an argument to be made. And we should not call the same broadcast. We should all have our own flavor of broadcast. But I do think that's an interesting discussion to get into, is the use of the word home run to make it crystal clear and to celebrate that moment.
Yeah, because we can't take for granted that everybody even knows what a dinger is, or that everybody even knows what a four-bagger is. I think there's something to be said for, like, sometimes we try to become so clever, Jesse, and come up with our own phrases that we forget the most basic thing. Yeah. Even when it comes to like strikeout, how often do we use like these basic terms, right in the heat of the moment? And I think that as we talk through this episode, I'm really starting to think about, all right, in tonight's game, I'm going to be really not self-conscious, but I'm going to be really focused on, am I still making sure that I use the basic words to describe basic things like home runs and strikeouts and things like that?
Well, strikeout, I don't think that we say, here's the pitch, swung on and missed, strikeout. Right. But we do say strike three. Mm-hmm. And I think that common language of this, ball four, whatever it might be to punctuate a call, there's a very clear, this is the description of a call, this is the end of the call, now this is me talking in between the call. That needs to be crystal clear. When I was coming up as a broadcaster, I struggled with that. And sometimes the in-between blended into the play-by-play itself. And you do need to be explicit about what is the call of the action and what is in between the call of the action.
All right. I think we have time for maybe some other clips as well. And there's something I want to do just for the sake of historical context. I want to go back to 1972, just because there's a lot of things that are going to happen in this clip that would never happen nowadays. And so I think it's fun to look back on a unique ending from the 1972 World Series.
Grimsley, Billingham, and Gullett have been in the bullpen. And he pops it up. Perez back. Morgan going and takes it in foul ground. Here comes Odom. And he is out. The ball game is over. A double play. Odom gambled and tried to score on the foul pop. And he's out at home plate. Dick Williams comes out. The Reds are still alive. They win it. Here's Odom tagging. He thought Morgan might not be quite alert or have his back to the plate. Odom tries to score. The throw from Joe Morgan is in time. A double play to wind up the ball game, and Cincinnati leads it 5-4. Now watch Joe Morgan. He yells Perez off the ball. Morgan, quickly, even though he slipped and fell, fired to the plate. And for a fellow who hasn't had a hit in this series, Morgan is playing a very valuable role yesterday and today. So the Reds win it.
Some of the uniqueness about that. Number one, Jesse, it is a World Series game that is played in the daytime. A daytime World Series game. Number two, Odom. That is John Blue Moon Odom. That is a pitcher. That is a pitcher tagging up from third base. This was 1972. The designated hitter did not become part of the American League until the following season. So the pitchers always batted in both leagues. I don't know why John Odom is running at third base instead of somebody else on the Oakland A's bench. Herb Washington was still a track star and was not quite yet part of the A's until 1974. But a unique play there, and I think that Kurt Gowdy was fantastic with the call.
How about Odom bumping the umpire to argue? There was a highly physical reaction. I thought that he was safe the first couple of replays. That last angle, Josh, I don't think he scores.
Yeah, I think he's out. Yeah, and I think that even the way that Johnny Bench blocks the plate is probably not something that would be allowed nowadays as well.
No, because the foot is there before the ball is there with Bench, but Bench's left foot is stopping him from getting in there. Joe Morgan, by the way, perfect throw. Kurt Gowdy immediately relates and says Morgan has not helped them offensively, but look at him help them defensively. Kurt Gowdy stays right on top of it and is now watch this replay. Like that's where we've checked in with Kurt Gowdy in the past. That's where that even temper of Kurt, he doesn't get too high. He stays right with it. He says, here's what's happened. Here's why it's happened. And that's where that reporter instinct really helps for the guy.
Man, I feel like every time that we show a clip of the Oakland A's, something is going wrong.
Why? They win this World Series.
They do win this World Series. Eventually, we need to do an episode when something positive happens to my Oakland A's.
We'll do a full Moneyball episode. We'll just Moneyball the heck out of it.
All right. Final takeaways, Jesse, about bizarre endings and what we can do as broadcasters to make sure that we are ready for these bizarre endings.
Well, I think the first thing is, can we have access to instant replay? That's where now having monitors in the booth, having those replay, having different angles, whatever we can to help us understand what has happened. Because sometimes it's difficult to understand. And we have to understand to help everyone who's in our audience understand. With multiple plays that you and I looked at, I did not understand at first. And I needed 1 replay, 2 replays, 3 replays to truly understand what has happened. And then to stay with it, to stay patient with ourselves and the game, and then to watch the reactions of everybody involved, to say, here's what's happened, here's why it's happened, and now let me tell you how everyone's reacting. That's my takeaway. How about you?
I think one of my other takeaways is just once you get to these moments, 9th inning, extra innings, games on the line where the game can end on any pitch, throw your notes away. Your notes don't matter. Don't worry about the out-of-town scoreboard. Don't worry about tomorrow's game. None of that matters. Just toss the notes aside. Just focus on the game. The game, and only the game. And when you're locked in like that, you're going to make sure that you're ready for any of these bizarre things, right? Like, don't try to get caught up on some text message or some other notes or whatever. It can all wait. And then once you're ready and you're completely focused, then that just makes you more nimble to make a change when it's needed.
Tom Maher, did you hear him give an out-of-town score?
Yes.
Tom, what are you doing, man? We've got extra innings. Stop looking at the scoreboard.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up, because when I heard him, I'm like, what are you doing? I don't care what's happening in California. Just tell me everything that's happening right now at 33rd Street as it becomes Electric Avenue.
Yes, the out-of-town scoreboard in general, unless you've got a really good reason for it, or there's nothing happening, I see it largely as a crutch. It's, well, there's nothing happening here. Let's see if there's anything interesting happening anywhere else. But if there's interesting things happening right in front of you, let all the other broadcasters talk about what you're seeing. And because you're the one who's seeing it, describe it to the best of your ability.
My other takeaways would be read the rule book, know the rule book, or just, even if it's, whether it's watching this episode, I mean, there's about 50 more calls that Jesse and I looked at that were potential examples to use. Watch these clips on YouTube just to get a sense of, these are some of the more bizarre rules. These are the ways that a game could end so that you're ready. I think going back to what we discussed in the triple plays and Inside the Park episodes, the idea that a little pause, it might feel like it's an eternity, but that little pause allows your brain to think, process, get the words out. Going back to the very first call of this episode with Joe Buck, minimal words. He says, that's the second out. When he comes home, and then the throw to third base and things start to untangle. And it's okay to pause and wait a little and make sure that you got the description right with it. And then even going back to Ted Robinson, can we run that again? I wonder if. I think that's a good thing. I wonder if, let's all look at this again together. Did the mask get used?
I mean, Joe Buck with that opening call, he says he is, and then he never completes it, because that's not the sentence that needs to be completed right now. Something else is more pertinent. Back to the rule book real quick. I think a conversation like you and I are having right now, this is what it's about, is ask your broadcaster friends, ask your friends in baseball, ask people, say, is there something that you've seen happen that you didn't know, that was a rule book rarity? These kind of conversations help out so much, because in the future, now I'll be ready for that double visit on the mound. You might see something, you might say to me, hey, we had something the other day. This guy broke the shift rule. I will be ready when I see it in person.
I think that anytime that you can talk to umpires, and usually game one before series, they arrive earlier and they walk out, and they're usually pretty easy to spot, right? It's khakis, it's Lululemon pants, it's collar shirts, and they walk around the field, they do a full inspection. And I think it's a good time to say hello, introduce yourself, maybe even ask them, especially with all the new rules that are happening. Just open-ended question. What's something that's happened in a game that you guys were doing? And we're all trying to work through like how this works, right? Or just like some of these bizarre things, and maybe ask them, what's something that's come up in a game that I can learn from you, and vice versa. And I think that those conversations are just extremely helpful. Plus they're fun.
People enjoy telling stories. People enjoy relating experiences. And so it's so good to sit back and listen and then trade. I will trade you a story for a good story from you. It's terrific. And that fills up a great season very nicely, because weird things happen whenever you're not ready for it. And so how do you be ready for something that you can't possibly be ready for? How do you unexpect the expected? It's kind of like you with that outfielder back at the wall on top of the hill where you go, don't know what's going to happen next, but here we go.
My name is Josh Sushan. I'm with the Albuquerque Isotopes, and that's Jesse Goldberg-Strassler from the Lansing Lugnuts. Thank you for watching this week's edition of Crafting the Call. Instead of trading baseball cards, we're going to trade some more broadcasting stories in the future. We'll talk to you again next week.